by sharing my screen with you. And we're going to look at a hand that was played last Friday. This was board 12, and this was one of the bidding. I'm basically going to show how it was played a couple of different times. West here opened 1-no trump, and North, I think you've got a very good hand for a 2-spade overcall. That's a natural spade bid. And South here went to 4 spades. So we're going to have a look at this hand played a couple of different ways. North is declarer, and on this hand, East led the 4 of diamonds. And what you need to do on a hand like this, or any hand really, is make a plan. Think about how are you going to play this. And one of the main questions you'll always ask yourself as declarer is, when you gain the lead, are you going to draw trumps? Or what is your plan on this hand? So if we look at this hand from your own hand's point of view, you can see you've got great spades with your partner. Apart from that, you're not going to lose any heart tricks because you've got the ace. And you're only going to lose 1 diamond because you can ruff after that. What you have here is this long club suit, which is going to be a source of losers unless you can ruff them. And because dummy is void in clubs, you can ruff them. And your plan on this hand should therefore be to ruff as many clubs as possible in dummy. I mean, you can see you could ruff 4 of your 5 clubs because you've got 4 trump in dummy. And in fact, that is the best plan on this hand, to ruff as many clubs as possible, and hopefully you will only lose that 1 diamond plus any clubs that you're not able to ruff. So this is a hand where you really don't want to touch trumps. You don't want to draw trumps, because if you do start drawing trumps, you will be cutting down on your ability to ruff clubs. And this is a hand all about cross-ruffing, is by far the best way to play this. Do interrupt me if you have any comments or thoughts on this. But I want to look at how it was played a couple of times. So this declarer lost the first diamond. They played a diamond, which declarer ruffed. And this declarer started drawing trumps. And that is definitely a mistake on this hand, because you can see you'll be left with all those clubs if you draw trumps. Anyway, that's what they did. They drew 1 round. They drew a second round to draw the opponent's trumps. They've all gone now. But now you can see they've only left with 2 trump in the south hand, and they won't be able to ruff more than twice there. So this is what they did next. They played the ace of hearts. They ruffed a diamond. They ruffed a club. They played another heart, which they ruffed. And they played a club, which they ruffed with their last trump. But now they've got clubs left in their hand, in the north hand, and nothing to ruff them with. They played a diamond here, which they didn't ruff this time. They discarded, so they lost that one. Back came a heart, which they ruffed. But at the end, they're left with 2 clubs and nothing to do with them. They lost that first club and they lost the second club. And they only made 9 tricks on that hand. And, you know, this is all about whether to draw trumps or not, and when to draw trumps. And there are some hands where you should draw trumps and some when you shouldn't. And I know a lot of people draw trumps when they shouldn't and leave the trumps out when they should draw them. And if you can try and fix that in your declarer play and suit contracts, you'll do a lot better. This was another time this hand was played. Here again, the bidding was similar: 1-no trump, 2 spades, 3 spades, 4 spades. And a diamond was led here, which West won, played a diamond back, and that was ruffed. And your goal here is really to get rid of all those club losers by ruffing them. So don't touch trump, and immediately this is what they started doing. They led a club, which they ruffed. And when you are cross-ruffing like this, it's a good plan never to draw trumps on this hand, but just to, ruff and start ruffing with low trumps. And then at the end, you'll be left with just high trumps, which can't be over-ruffed. So Declara started off quite well. They then played a diamond. They ruffed this one with the 10. I mean, it turned out that wasn't necessary, but it's probably a good idea to actually ruff with lower ones to start with. They then played a club, which they ruffed. They got away with that. And then they cashed their ace of hearts and played a low heart, and they ruffed this one low. They ruffed another club in dummy, and they played another heart, which they ruffed with the 7. And at this point, they've just got high trumps left, and the opponent can't over-ruff or can't do anything. So they played the last club. They ruffed with the king. The ace came out, ace of clubs came out then. And at this point, if Declara had the lead in their own hand, they could actually make all the remaining tricks, because they could draw trumps with the ace and queen of spades, and the king of clubs has become good because they ruffed so many times. Unfortunately, they can't do that here because the lead is in the south hand, and they have no more trumps here, so they can't get to the north hand except by ruffing something. So they actually played a diamond, and it doesn't really matter what they do here, they're always going to lose one trick because they can't draw trumps. So this Declara actually threw away the king of clubs and then claimed the last 2. So you can make 11 tricks on this hand by basically taking your trumps separately and not drawing trumps at all. Any comments or questions on that? So how do you know which to do? Well, you basically have to try and make a plan, have to look at the hand and decide, is this a hand where you want to draw trumps, or is this a hand where you want to try and cross-ruff? And there's no sort of global answer. You have to look at each hand one at a time. Let's have a look at this one here, where you as South opened 1 spade, North raised you to 2 spades, and you jumped to 4 spades. And what I'd like you to try and do on this hand is try and make a plan about how you're going to play this hand. And what you very often want to do in a suit contract is think about your losers, or you can sometimes think about your winners and then think about how you can make more tricks. Some people find counting their losers challenging. So on this one, I would like you to start off by counting your top tricks. Imagine you were playing this in a no trump contract. How many top tricks do you have as Declara, or how many likely top tricks do you have, shall we say? And playing in 4 spades, how many tricks do you hope to make altogether, and what is your plan? And then you're going to think about, are you going to draw trumps or not? So I'm going to launch a poll in a moment. It's got 2 questions in it. The first one is, how many top tricks do you have? And the second part is, how many tricks do you hope to make altogether in a contract of 4 spades? So take a moment and think about those questions. And when you're ready, I'll launch the poll. How many top tricks do you have? And then the second part is, how many tricks do you hope to make altogether? Someone tell me when they're ready, because sometimes I go to the poll too early. How many top tricks do you have? And the second part is, how many tricks do you hope to make altogether? Anyone ready on that? Lee has put his hand up, but Lee is exceptional. Okay. So let's let's launch that poll. Right. You may need to scroll down to see the second Okay, let's have a look at the results, which are very interesting. And for the first part, most of you have said 9, but quite a large percentage said 8, and one person said 10. And then for the second part, you've nearly all said 11. One person said 10. So the answers to the first part are very interesting for me, because we need to decide whether we have 8 or 9 top tricks on this one. So let's go back to the hand and let's count our top tricks. Imagine we're playing this in no trump. Well, I think we have 5 spades, because we've got 9 spades between us. The opponents have only got 4 at the most, have got 4. So no matter how they're divided, you don't need to lose any spades. You should be able to make all 5 spades. So we can count that as 5 tricks there. You've got 1 heart, that's 6, and then you've got 2 diamonds and 1 club. So the answer is 9. You have 9 top tricks here. And those of you who said 8, if you want to tell me why you thought there were only 8, you can unmute yourselves and tell me. But you should persuade yourselves that there are actually 9 top tricks there, even if trumps don't divide very well for you. So you start off with 9 top tricks, and if we think about where we can make more tricks from, I think we can make more tricks in diamonds by roughing 2 diamonds. Okay, in other words, if instead you focus on your losers, you can see you've got a heart loser and a club loser, and you've got these 2 diamond losers, but you can avoid those by roughing them in dummy. And that's what I'm going to plan to do on this hand. So my plan is to make 11 tricks by roughing 2 diamonds. I can't do any better than that. I'm always going to lose a club and a heart, but I can hope to make 11 tricks. Now, the other thing you need to ask yourself is, should I draw trumps first? Let's suppose I win this first trick with the ace of clubs. Should I draw trumps first, or should I try to rough the diamonds first? Now, the decision, the thought process should be something like this. I need to rough 2 diamonds here, so I need to make sure I have 2 trumps left in dummy. I don't want to play all the trumps out, for example, then I won't be able to rough anything. So whether I'll draw trumps first depends on how they divide. If, for example, there are I've got 9 trumps. If the opponents have got their 4 trumps are divided 2-2, I can actually draw trumps in 2 rounds, and still I'll have 2 trump left in dummy to rough the 2 diamonds. So that's one way you can plan to play this. You could also sort of delay drawing trumps and just sort of try to rough the diamonds early on. That will probably work out just as well. But if you can draw trumps and still make your contract, then that's probably the safer thing to do rather than cross-ruffing. So let's suppose I start by drawing 1 round of trumps. Everyone follows to that. And I play another round of trumps, but this time East discards. So I didn't get a 2-2 break, and that means that West still has a trump. Now, I don't want to draw that now, because I'll only have 1 trump left in dummy to rough the diamond. So if they had fallen, I could now just rough the diamonds twice, but I now need to delay drawing that last trump because I want to rough 2 diamonds. So that's what I'm going to do on this hand. I'm going to leave the king of diamonds, cross over to the ace of diamonds, and play a 3rd diamond, which I'm going to rough. I'll rough this one with a 6. Okay, so I was able to rough that one. I still have a diamond loser I want to rough, So what I want to do is get back to my hand so that I can ruff it. So that's what I'll do. I can come back here with a ace of hearts and play the last diamond, which I'm going to ruff in dummy. I'm going to ruff it with a queen there. And now I've succeeded in ruffing my 2 diamonds. What do I want to do now? Well, I don't want to lose to that last trump. There's a high trump, there's a 10 of spades out, I think. So I want to try to get back to my hand and draw that. It's a little hard to do that at the moment because I've got no trumps to lead from the north hand. So I'll just play a heart. Whoever wins that might be able to cash a club, let's say, but eventually they will play something else and I'll be able to ruff it. And now I can draw that last trump so it doesn't win a trick and make my 9 of spades. So basically I made 11 tricks there by ruffing 2 diamonds in dummy. And you could do that a different way. You could just start off by ruffing the diamonds, but in particular, I just want to point out you don't make any extra tricks by ruffing hearts, for example, or by ruffing clubs. So let's any comments or questions on that? Let's have a look at another one. And this is another one that was played in a gentle duplicate game recently. The bidding on this one was generally something like this. I'm going to look at how it was played a couple of times. 1 heart, 1 spade, 2 clubs, and then north should now support the hearts. Once south has bid 2 suits, hearts and clubs, it should show 5 hearts and at least 4 clubs, and you should support the hearts. North, you've actually got, I think, 11 points there, so don't bid 2 hearts, which will be more like 6 to 9, bid 3 hearts, more like 10 to 12, and your partner ends up in 4 hearts. And the opponents lead the ace of diamonds here. And I've got the last poll question of the afternoon, which is, how many potential losers does Declarer have? So how many potential losers do you think Declarer has here?
3.
So I'll launch the poll in a moment. I'm going to share the results with you. And most of you have gone for 2, 81%, with the smaller number going for 3 or for 4. So let's switch back to that and see what we think. Well, let's look at the spade suit. When we're going, well, so first of all, when we're going to count our losers, we're going to look at it from the hand with the long trump suit, which is your hand here, the south hand, but taking into account all the strength in dummy. And if I do that in spades, I can see I've got 1 loser there. I'm missing the ace of spades. So that looks like a definite loser. Am I going to lose any hearts? Well, I'm missing the king, but I might be able to avoid that by finessing. In other words, at some point, I can lead a heart from dummy, and if East has got the king, it may be trapped and may not make a trick with that. I don't have any diamond losers, and I'm not expecting any club losers. I've got the ace, king, queen, jack of clubs. I have 8 clubs. So the opponents have got 5. So very likely I don't have any club losers. It would take exceptional distribution for there to be a possible loser there. So I think I've got 2 possible losers there. 1 definite one, the ace of spades, and the second one, the king of hearts, which I'm going to try to avoid by finessing. However, when this hand was played, a lot of people didn't make the most of it. Some went down in 4 hearts, and I just want to see what went wrong on this hand. So they led the ace of diamonds, and you're able to ruff that. And having won that first trick, what are you going to do next? Well, you want to draw trumps on this hand, and the way you want to draw trumps is you want to get the lead in dummy. So you should be playing a spade or a club to get to dummy so that you can lead from dummy and avoid the trump loser if the finesse works. However, this is what this declarer did. They crossed over to the 10 of spades. East took the ace, okay. Then back came a club, which they won with the jack. But this declarer started off by then playing diamonds. They saw that they had a void in their own hand, and they decided to ruff diamonds. And this is a bad mistake. Ruffing in the long hand will rarely gain you any extra tricks. The exception was the one we started off looking at, where you're going to cross ruff. But this is not a hand for cross ruffing, because we've got all those clubs and spades to cash. And if we don't draw trumps, we won't be able to cash them. But this is what some people did. They see the diamond void and they sort of have this, they're drawn towards roughing it. And you can ruff, I mean, that was a successful ruff, but it didn't gain them anything. They now played a spade. Again, this is risky play because they haven't drawn trumps yet. And they played another spade without drawing trumps. And eventually, of course, that was ruffed. East now played a club back, which declarer won with the ace. And, you know, when I'm watching people play this, I'm sort of willing them to draw trumps. I say, please draw trumps. Why are you not drawing trumps? No, they carried on with another club. That got ruffed. A spade was played. That was ruffed. This time, at least they could over ruff. And then they played a club. They ruffed with the queen, but that was over ruffed with the king. Diamond came back, which they ruffed. They won that one. Finally, they're playing trumps because they don't have much else, but they ended up losing, winning that last trick, but they only made 9 tricks in a contract where they should have made at least 11 or 12. And, you know, I don't know what's in people's minds when they're doing this. I suspect they don't really have a plan, but they just sort of think, oh, I'll ruff those diamonds. But it's a terrible plan to do that. Let's have a look at how it should be played. This was a similar auction, except East-West intervened with diamonds and they ended up in 4 hearts. So let's just see how declarer should play this. They lose the first, they win the first trick by ruffing, and then they want to get to dummy in order to lead heart. So they played the 10 there. East let them win that one, so they're in dummy now. And the best way to play the hearts now, you've got really good hearts apart from the king. You've got the ace, queen, jack, 10, 9, is to lead a high heart from dummy, so that if East has the king and doesn't play it, the queen will win and you're able to repeat the finesse. So you play another heart, that's the king gone, and there's one more heart out. So you're just going to draw it, and then you've got pretty much all winners there. So all you now want to do is play your clubs, winning in the shorthand, the ace and the jack first, then cross over to your clubs here, and your clubs are good, and you've got good spades. Oh, sorry, apart from the ace still is out there. So you're going to lose 1 spade there, but whatever happens now, you'll ruff that last one and take the last one with the king of spades. So everyone really should have made 12 tricks there, but a number of people made 10 or even went down. And again, it was caused by making the wrong decision about whether to draw trumps. And in this case, you needed to draw trumps. Whereas if you, in the first example, you don't draw trumps, you cross ruff. So you really need a plan of how you're going to do it. And don't, in particular, you know, the end thing I try to emphasize is do not ruff in the hand with the long trumps unless you have a good reason to do so. One of those reasons is to cross ruff, as we saw in the first hand. There are other times you will need to rough, perhaps to establish a long suit by roughing, or you may need to rough just to get back to the master hand, the hand with the long trumps. But in general, don't rough in the hand with the long trumps, except for one of these reasons. And again, if you have, if there is a reason to delay drawing trumps, then by all means do that. But otherwise, you should draw trumps. Okay, unless you're doing some roughing that will gain extra tricks. Okay, so those of you, especially who got the answers wrong or who played some of these hands and went down, do have a look at those and try and persuade yourself of the merit of either roughing or not roughing, and drawing trumps or not drawing trumps. Each hand is different. There isn't a general rule. As I think I've told you before, I did have one player who was advising her partner to always draw trumps. She said, I always draw trumps, and that's not right. So sometimes you do and sometimes you don't, and it's all down to making a plan. Did anyone have any questions about that? Okay, we'll end the talk there. If you need a partner for the game, you can either join the Real Bridge game and sit at a table and let me know, or if you want to let me know now, you can speak up and tell me if you need a partner now. Otherwise, I'll say goodbye to you all. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Johnny.
See you online, okay?
Okay, bye.
Okay. Judy, you're trying to tell me something. I can't hear you. Your microphone is turned off. You need to unmute yourself. So there's a button in your, okay.
Hi, I need a partner, please.
Okay, so can you join the table, Judy? You know how to do that?
Could you remind me, because I had difficulty getting on. I lost you and I missed the first 15 minutes.
Okay, so what you're going to do is go to the Pinnabridge website. I'll just do that. Hopefully you can see this. And click here where it says Real Bridge. Then click here on this green link to join the event.